Hi, I'm Corolla. On Instagram, I'm at From Corolla. In this video, I'm going to do a writing and drawing sample of my currently inked fountain pens for December. So if you want to do your currently inked spread along with me, grab your fountain pens and let's do it. If you want to know more about the fountain pens, the nibs, and the inks that I'm using in December, make sure to take a look at my description below. So if this is your first time joining me in one of my currently inked videos, what I usually do is I tell you what fountain pen I'm going to swatch. I'll tell you what the nib is, a little bit about it, and the ink as well that I have in the fountain pen. And then I'll do a drawing and a writing sample, and I'll let you take a closer look if you're interested. And that's how I usually do it. So I'm so glad you're joining me, and let's get to it. So the first pen that I have inked up for December is the Esterbrook Estie Raven, and it's this matte black finish with a button filler. And so you can sort of see in the ink window, the ink that I have inside is this really pretty dark burgundy red, and it's Diamine Inks Writer's Blood. And I love the combination of Writer's Blood with this pen. It's sort of my go-to. So the nib that I have here is the stock broad nib. The second pen that I have is the Esterbrook Estie. It's called Quirky Leaf, and it's this really beautiful shade of green. The nib that I have is the Broad Journaler. So you can get a journaler nib from Esterbrook. It's part of their special nib program. It's ground by Gina. And I actually had a stock broad Esterbrook nib ground by Gina at a pen show. And the ink that I have inside this one is actually Sailor Ink Studio 280. And if you're not familiar with this shade, it's a very, very nice shade of green. Sort of like a chartreuse green. This ink is really pretty because as it dries, it has a nice shading to it. And sort of like a dual ink color. I'll show you at the end what it looks like. The third pen that I have inked up is from Hinze Pen Co, and it's a very cool looking shape or sort of form to it. It's called a Leonardo da Vinci, and inspired by Leonardo da Vinci. And I love the swirl pattern in here, the colors that are included in here. And so I actually went with Diamine Twilight because it's sort of this deep tealish green color. The nib that I have inside is a custom ground nib from CY on it's an engraved nib from Kirk at Pen Realm. I think this one was for the California Pen Show, and CY grounded to a sankakusen. So it's actually a double broad or broad nib that was ground to a sankakusen, so similar to a naginata. The fourth pen that I have is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim, and it is a North American exclusive. I believe it's called Sunset Over the Ocean, but I love it because it reminds me of a lighthouse. So this blue body sort of has a sparkle to it, which is very, very pretty. And the nib that I have in this pen is a medium, and it's a medium 14 karat gold nib. And I have it inked with Yoseka Stationery Ming Koi Blue. I believe that's how you pronounce it, but sorry if I mispronounced it. This is a very pretty bright blue, and it has a nice sheen to it, sort of this pinkish red sheen. So you can see this very bright, sort of beautiful blue. It's so vibrant. The next pen is a Franklin-Christoph Pocket 20, and it is a snap cap with a engraved nib from Kirk at Pen Realm for the San Francisco Pen Show, and I got it, and And I got the broad nib. I didn't get it custom ground by anyone because I may do that in the future, but I kind of just wanted to try out or use a double broad nib just because it's so juicy. And so I decided to put a shimmer ink in this pen because you can carefully eyedropper this pen. And I decided to try out the Pelikan Edelstein Golden Lapis Ink of the Year for 2024. And it is a beautiful blue shimmer ink. So just to activate the shimmer ink a little bit, because I don't always use this pen on the daily. So this required a little bit more coaxing because sometimes the shimmer tends to clog up a little bit in the feed or in the nib, and you sort of have to move its way down or through it. And so I'm more of a fan of using shimmer inks with glass dip pens or for painting than I am in fountain pens. But if you do have a fountain pen with a broad or double broad nib or something that's, it allows the shimmer to work its way through, then you should be fine. But it does depend on the pen and the nib that you use. It's a very pretty shimmery ink though. So you can see the blue and the gold shimmer. It's a very nice combination. Again, I would probably use it more often with a glass dip pen because it's easy to use and clean out than I would with a fountain pen. But I do really enjoy it in the double broad nib. The next pen that I have is a Skogsy Baby Saguaro in the Ultim model or Ultim finish, and I love it because it's a sleek black. The nib that I have here is a broad Sig from Franklin-Christoph, and it is a very nice sort of stubby nib that has a raven black finish to it. So it's very sleek looking pen. Oh, and the ink that I have this pen inked up with, is Platinum Chou, and it is meant to be the blackest of all black inks for fountain pens. So I really wanted to try this out, and I finally got it from Atlas Stationers for the Fountain Pen Day sale. And so it's a very, very dark black ink. Let me know in the comments if you've tried this ink. It is very, very dark. It is definitely the darkest or blackest ink that I own. Next up, we have the Pilot Custom 823, which is a recent purchase of mine, and I love it already. I got it with a signature nib, and it is a 14 karat gold nib, and it's also a vacuum filler, and the ink that I have in this pen is Dominant Industry collab with Wonder Pens called Tuna Gray, and so it's a very sort of smoky gray. It's a very pretty gray color. If you want to know a little bit more about this Pilot Custom 823, I actually did a recent YouTube video about it, so be sure to check that out if you're interested. So you can actually see in comparison the Tuna Gray versus the chou. It is, this one is very black. And my last pen that I have currently inked is a Platinum Century 3776. And the nib that I have is a UEF, so an ultra extra fine, also known as a needlepoint. And so it is the very thinnest nib point that you can get. And so you have to be very careful when you're writing or drawing with it. And I have it inked up with platinum carbon ink cartridges. So you can see I don't put much pressure on it at all to get these lines because it's a fair writer, and you can write on those very, very small grids with this. So that's my currently inked fountain pens for December, sort of going with the darker shades and darker inks, but some brightness in there as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you enjoy your currently inked fountain pens as well. I'm Corolla on Instagram. I'm @FromCorolla. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!